Good evening to all of you. We had a coin flip again to determine order, and Mr. Maynard, candidate Maynard, won the coin flip. So he will go first. You have 2 minutes to introduce yourself.
Okay, thank you. I would like to thank the RHA for putting this together. If you look around, there's a lot of people, so I also want to thank you for everybody who came and joined us tonight. Participation is key when it comes to the community. I have served on this board in the past for almost 9.5 years, have had a tremendous amount of accomplishments that I can go on and on beyond 2 minutes. But what I've seen from afar, because of COVID, I have too many Zooms in my life, but I do watch, I do ask questions, and it just seems like our current board has started to bicker over national things. And at the end of the day, the Rossmoor Community Service District is to provide services as best as we can to our constituents. With the years of experience, I served as president for 4 of those near 10 years. All but 2 years I was an officer, and I think I conducted myself professionally and have a lot of things. I'm very proud to also say that 2 of the initiatives helped reduce and helped save you money. I was part of the leadership that opted to have the plan to pay off our wall early, to pay off this building and this facility early, saving you thousands of dollars. So I was very proud of that. And one of the things I was really proud is when it comes to community, we're all in this together. We actually took on the gas company. I led that initiative, and we prevented people's homes from having an ugly big pole with solar stuff on there so the gas company could communicate your usage. So I was part of the team that actually helped homeowners not have some monstrosity in front of their yard. A little bit about me. I have 2 daughters that we raised in here since 2002. They're now 20 and 22. And you know, that's a rough age to raise a father, but they're doing pretty good. That was a joke, you know, I throw those in for free, guys. So, but with that said, I'm a big stakeholder in this community. I have served before. I have a perspective that's a little different being a CEO, and I think that's a perspective that helps the community. I'm about consensus and building teams. I like to equip and inspire, and I hope I have your vote.
Candidate Churchill.
Yes, good evening.
2 minutes.
Good evening, and thank you for inviting me. A little bit about my background. I moved here about 3 years ago, and that was, of course, like at the beginning of COVID, so everything was shut down. But I made the best of it. What I did was make friends with my neighbors across the street, and we engaged in community shopping. I would help shop, and we'd share our pantry items, and you remember the shortage on toilet paper. I always made sure there was plenty to pass around. But I started reading all the information about what's going on with the district and the Homeowners Association, and like Mr. Maynard said, there was bickering, and having served on a city council and on a planning commission in an elected capacity, that's not normal. And I wanted to figure out what was going on, so I did a lot of research. I went and looked behind what was causing this, and what I discovered was that some of the board members were engaging in activities that were beyond the jurisdiction of their office, and their actions were completely inappropriate. This idea of going to the state legislature with a proposal to expand powers of the district without community input, I found horrifying. When you're an elected official, you work for the voters. The voters tell you what they want you to do. As an elected official, you don't go and do something on their behalf without telling them. In my experience in government, I was on the city council. When I worked in Signal Hill, it was basically an oil field with contaminated soil. There was no Home Depot, no homes on the hill, no parks, and I worked on projects that generated income. That income was not new taxes for the people who lived in town. That income paid for community services for the 3 elementary schools we had in town. We funded our own police department. When you called them, they showed up in 3 minutes. And we built parks because we understood the value of having parks and recreation. You have a miracle in Rossmoor. Your board has built the parks and maintained them
Carol,
perfectly.
it's time.
Thank you.
And candidate Shade, 2 minutes.
Good evening. Thank you for coming here tonight, and thank you for all those out there listening on the airwaves. My name is Jo Shade. I am a longtime resident here in Rossmoor, 25 years, and I've dedicated myself to this community on many levels. I am married, and I have one girl, one and done. Perhaps you have met her. I work really hard in this community, and my motivation is my baby girl, and to maintain this neighborhood, our community in which it is. So I work daily and diligently to do that. I am on the board of directors with the Rossmoor Homeowners Association, and I'm very proud of that. I work very hard. I feel like since I've been on this board, I have transformed it. Not single-handedly, by no means, but in the past 4 years, we have transformed it. We've done more on this board in the past 4 years than they've done in the past 50. So I feel really proud to be a part of that. I'm on this board. I'm also on the board of directors with the Los Alamitos Chamber of Commerce. So I work really closely with the businesses in the area as well. I have a lot of connections in the community. I build bridges, and I work with them all very tightly, including the school district. I've spent a decade over at St. Hedwig, where I went all the way to PTO president, and including running the Autumn Fest there for about 15 years. Then I jumped to the Rossmoor Homeowners, and now I give all my talents and my efforts and everything to Rossmoor, which I absolutely love. I am the connector of the community. I get calls every day from multiple people in the area. I attend local meetings for the city, for the RCSD, for the neighborhood, and local businesses. Lastly, I'm a realtor, and I diligently work on all that I can.
The first question, we'll start with candidate Churchill. What is one specific passion or interest you have towards our Rossmoor parks? How can you bring this passion to fruition in your representation as an RCSD director?
I'm a tree hugger. I am not ashamed to admit that. I've been a member of the Sierra Club since 1984. Trees are important to your community. They're not important just because they bring you oxygen. They're important because they bring you value to your property. I feel fortunate to live in this beautiful community. I came here because of the way it looks. Your district provides wonderful services. Their parks are immaculate and they're operated with precision. You are very fortunate to have that. But being an owner in Rossmoor, you also have made an investment in your community. And that investment includes the amenities from your park. And as long as this board will focus on providing you with those recreational services and maintaining the parks, not only will your home go up in value, but your lifestyle will go up in value. I recognize that, and I would work towards benefiting you by using my experience that I gained in Signal Hill in creating parks and operating them.
Candidate Shea, what is one specific passion or interest you have towards our Rossmoor parks? How can you bring this passion to fruition in your representation as an RCSD director?
Easy. That's the easy one for me. If you know me or heard about me, you know that on the Rossmoor Homeowners Association, I'm the events chair. Currently, and since I have been in this position, I work extremely tight with the RCSD in planning all of their events. So the events that you attend during the summer, the festivals, all the entertainment lineup, and the volunteers, right here. That's what I do. So my interest is huge because that's what I do. I love to provide, I want to say entertainment, but just a place for people to go and enjoy and be with each other in our community. Our festivals that we do here are huge. They're super popular. People love them, and it brings the community together in a really positive way, and that's what I love, and that is a passion for me.
Thank you. Candidate Maynard, what is one specific passion or interest you have towards our Rossmoor parks? How can you bring this passion to fruition in your representation as an RCSD director?
Well, first, I'd like to thank these ladies for acknowledging what the board has done, and while I was on that board. The passion that I have is activities for all, meaning that our current tot lot when we were in here was not ADA compliant. So I led that effort to make it ADA, American Disabilities Act. Up until that time, it wasn't. So I took great pride on opening that up and then seeing other people who weren't using the park using it. While I was on the board, a colleague of mine, Bill Kaler, had this idea. Michael, Winterfest, what do you think? I like it. So he and I worked together to come up with our very first Winterfest. And it was challenging because of the weather, but it was a tremendously successful event. But back to the whole point of activities for all, I think one of the things some people think is maybe we cater to too much youth sports. I believe youth sports is important. I've always backed it up, but I also think that we can do a little bit more in activities for all ages. So I think maybe we have one too many dugouts that we can possibly pull out and think of other activities that open it up for all generations. So I would like to have more park access and activities that are for all groups, kids, families, middle age, and maybe even some senior activities.
Thank you.
The next question concerns Rossmoor and its governance. And we'll start with candidate Shea. Over the years, the issue of Rossmoor Incorporation has come before the community many times. It has always been soundly rejected by the voters. The issue of governance is now being brought back again by a small group within Rossmoor. What is your position regarding Rossmoor Incorporation and the current attempts to expand the latent powers of the RCSD to include public safety, without first placing such an issue before the community for a formal ballot measure vote? Candidate Shea.
I appreciate this question on many levels. It's been given to everybody, and I'm super glad that it's been given to us. So this is a tough one because I have a certain level of understanding on why they would want that. On the other hand, I feel like its cost has come way too high. There hasn't been any transparency, and there's been a level of discredit, and quite frankly, the credibility of the RCSD has come under question in the neighborhood for not being transparent and not sharing with our residents in a timely manner in which we should have. Never mind the cost. The cost has been huge. This has been an ongoing thing for many, many years. And it's a big reason why the RCSD and the RHA have been butting heads. We pull back, we watch, we call out, and it's a major issue. I feel like I can't support that unless it's complete transparency with the residents, and the residents want it. It's a call out to our residents for them. If it's not something that's supported by the residents, I am not on board. They need to know everything. That's it.
Thank you. Candidate Maynard, I'll reread the question. Over the years, the issue of Rossmoor Incorporation has come before the community many times. It has always been soundly rejected by the voters. The issue of governance is now being brought back again by a small group within Rossmoor. What is your position regarding Rossmoor Incorporation and the current attempts to expand the latent powers of the RCSD to include public safety, without first placing an issue of such consequence before the community for a formal ballot measure vote?
Well, first, as far as I'm aware, we were only up for incorporation one vote, and you are absolutely right. I think that went down 60-something%. People did not want us to be an incorporated city. When you bring in latent powers or more local control, that's a different issue. And the board, when I was in 2011, was very vocal about we wanted to pursue latent powers, which I now use just the term local control, for police, because we were having really bad issues with the police timing. Animal control, because we had this tsunami event of coyotes killing like 147 animals, pets, our family members one year. And then the trash was just basically because when people negotiate trash contracts, usually little cities or communities get some funding, and we thought that would be great to have too. We were always transparent on that. I actually led the effort and was president 2 years in a row because of the progress we were making. We did have community events on that, so saying that there was zero transparency is actually not true. Now, when it comes to local control, I absolutely believe that when a governing body in Rossmoor, with Rossmoor residents, get to make decisions for Rossmoor, by Rossmoorians, if that's a word, that's impactful. I definitely believe that our police service, the fact is, we only have one person every now and then. I could tell you in the last 2 years, our sheriff's service has gone down. I want to work on making that better, whether it's through LAFCO, whether it's working with our supervisor, but bottom line, I am a proponent of local control. The more decisions Rossmoor people can make, instead of people in the county who don't even really understand us, to me that's a huge win for the people of Rossmoor and helps preserve our way of life.
Thank you. Candidate Churchill, again, the same question for you. I'll read it again. Over the years, the issue of Rossmoor Incorporation has come before the community. It has always been soundly rejected by the voters. The issue of governance is now being brought back again by a small group within Rossmoor. What is your position regarding Rossmoor Incorporation and the current attempts to expand the latent powers of the RCSD to include public safety without first placing this issue of such consequence before the community for a formal ballot measure vote?
First of all, it is not possible to answer that question in the time that you have provided.
Agreed.
It's impossible. This is an extremely complicated issue. Go to Voter's Edge. I've written a paper on it that is probably way too long and it'll put you to sleep, but it will explain exactly why you're not going to be incorporated. There's no money. You are a residential neighborhood. You do not generate any revenue coming in except your property taxes. Do you know where your property taxes go? State of California and to the county. And the county decides how much they're going to spend, how much they're going to give your district to provide services. You get property taxes to pay for your park maintenance and other things. Why would the county give you money for animal control? They have their own animal control. Why would they give you money to fund police services when they have the sheriff's department? They're not going to want to do that. If you want to be incorporated, what you're really saying is, I want to become a municipality. I want to be a city. Then you have to ask yourself some questions. Do the residents need or want more powers to be exercised on their behalf? The board needs to go to you, the community, and say, what powers do you want us to exercise? The board should not be saying, I think we should have animal control. I think we should have police powers. No, this is your community. You tell us what you are not getting and what's wrong with it. Let me tell you, I walked around the neighborhood. Here are the three things, the most important things that are being requested. Child safety and traffic near the schools. Your board should act as a liaison to fix that problem. I've got an idea that can do that. Parking problems adjacent to Montecito. Your board needs to put together stakeholders to address all the people that are impacted by those parking problems. Lack of patrols by your sheriff's department and a 911 response that takes 45 minutes. That is not appropriate. We need, the board, hopefully I will get on it, needs to act as a liaison and call these agencies together and say,
10
what
more
the heck are you
seconds.
doing? Okay? Read that. Read that.
This next question, we'll be starting with candidate Maynard, uses the acronym RHA, Rossmoor Homeowners Association, and RCSD, which is the board that you're running for. The RHA and the RCSD both agree that clear communication is paramount in serving our community. And when things go awry, it is the residents who suffer. Director DeMarco stated it best when he said, the district probably could do a better job communicating with our community. As a director and Rossmoor resident, how will you help the district to improve both its communication and public notice to the community? Director Marco, or candidate Maynard.
Thank you. I haven't been on this board for a year and a half. I don't know if things have changed in this matter where we didn't, but I could tell you that there are rules and procedures, and I expect and demand that this board follow those. When you have a meeting on a Tuesday, you have to have it posted by a Thursday, whatever those rules are, you need to have them posted. So that's the basics, I call that blocking and tackling. So also, being a government agency, communication's a little different than being a volunteer group and how you get to communicate. But bottom line is, need to figure out how to let people know. We do have a Facebook account, I think we have. I don't know how sophisticated it is. But as long as you're posting, not violating any Brown Act, communicating, having the liaisons with school district board people, schools, with RHA, with other groups that are within Rossmoor, and you're just communicating and you're telling people, here's what's going on. To be honest, I didn't know we had a major communication breakdown.
Thank you. Candidate Churchill, I'll read the question again. The RHA and the RCSD both agree that clear communication is paramount in serving our community, and when things go awry, it is the residents who suffer. Director DeMarco stated it best when he said the district probably could do a better job communicating with our community. As a director and Rossmoor resident, how will you help the district to improve both its communication and public notice to the community?
Having served on the city council, I am very familiar what needs to be done to provide public notice and opportunity to be heard on critical issues. First of all, there is the Brown Act, and that requires that notice be posted. That's very minimal notice. That's what you see posted over on the tennis courts that says, by the way, there's going to be a hearing on this day. But what the community members actually need to get and what should be posted is the staff report. That's written by your executive director. He's the one that gathers the facts, puts together the report, and makes recommendations to the board as to how they should act on a particular issue. These staff reports, if you had a larger staff, these staff reports would be very detailed. The community could read absolutely everything, come to the meeting, and participate actively in that discussion. When you have large issues, it's really important that the data is gathered by the staff from professionals. For example, on traffic issues, you need to hire a traffic engineer that knows what they're talking about. You can't just have board members going around talking to the school district and say, I think we should put a bus here, okay? Educational forums, it's absolutely critical that your executive director sets up community forums where they bring in experts, and the members of the community can come in and sit and speak to that expert, look at the maps, look at charts, look at the data, and ask those experts questions. Especially true if you're going to look at local control. After you get these forums done, the board brings that information back. They have a discussion among the board members with the public being able to ask questions. Then what you should be doing is have a formal motion and a second by somebody that sits on the board that spells out exactly what authority you're giving your board members. Once that is voted on, and you need 3 people to vote out of your 5 to pass that motion, that becomes a written resolution. And that is the document you show people that says, I have the power to make these decisions. I don't see that happening here. That's what I would recommend.
Candidate Shea. The RHA and the RCSD both agree that clear communication is paramount in serving our community. And when things go awry, it is the residents who suffer. Director DeMarco stated it best when he said the district probably could do a better job communicating with our community. As a director and Rossmoor resident, how will you help the district to improve both its communication and public notice to the community?
I'd like to say that a lot of the things that are being said are actually being done or have been done. If you've attended any meetings or board meetings or school board meetings, you would know that. I know that because I do. I actually am the school district liaison to the community. It's not something I want to become. That's what I do. That being said, there's always, as was said, ways to improve and get communication better. There's multiple organizations that I work with, including law enforcement and the school district, to work to improve the traffic and the safety in and around our schools. We do it every single day.
Thank you.
The next question speaks to the issue of diversity and inclusion. We will start with candidate Churchill. Would you speak to the issues of diversity and inclusion and give an example of how your plan to represent the many different needs and interests in our community would be forthcoming?
I don't see a problem with diversity and inclusion in this community. Everybody I have met and spoke with on the street has been thoughtful, considerate, helpful, willing to assist anyone. I don't see bias in this community. I think we have a professional, educated community that understands that we have to get along as a village. We prosper by helping one another. I would be willing to consider anything, any suggestion that somebody else has, if they've spotted some sort of diversity problem or exclusion in this neighborhood, but I just haven't seen it, and nobody's told me that that's a problem that they faced within Rossmoor.
Thank you. Candidate Shea, I'll reread the question. Would you speak to the issues of diversity and inclusion and give an example how you plan to represent the many different needs and interests in our community?
Sure. I think it's wonderful if you don't see that there's an issue with diversity in our neighborhood. That speaks volumes for us. We totally reach out and try and be inclusive as much as we possibly can. That being said, the reality of it is it's out there. And if you're not feeling it, it's probably because you're not in that minority group. That's just the facts. An example would be, I was here working our last event, and I was here working with a couple of high school volunteers of color, and it was pointed out to me by this person that she felt very awkward, to say the least, that she was the only person of color that she could see within our park. So making somebody feel isolated in that way, it can be hurtful, but we can do something about that, and we can be more inviting and make sure that we're reaching out to anybody that we can and letting them know, reassuring them, this is a great place. And I'll tell you, by the time she left by the end of the day, she was back the next weekend. So it was great. In a positive way, it turned out. So I would just like to say that I try to reach that olive branch out to anybody that I can, and bringing in and making sure that we're inclusive for everybody.
Thank you. Candidate Maynard, the same question to you. Would you speak to the issues of diversity and inclusion and give an example of how you plan to represent the many different needs and interests in our community?
I kind of echo what Mrs. Chamberlain states, is our demographic, I describe it as one way, affluent. We live in a affluent group, community with successful professionals. We also have within our community blue collar who have trades. A lot of them actually own the business with their trade, but in general, we have a tremendous community. I believe it is very inclusive. When you talk to me personally about what I bring to the table, I would say it all starts with love. I have never denied my Christian beliefs. I believe it always starts with love. And if we all try to love each other as we love ourselves from the Bible, I think that makes for a better place. So how I address it personally is through my faith and through just being a lover of people, which I am. But again, I echo the fact that I think we are a very inclusive, affluent community. I feel bad that someone felt bad at an event because they didn't see a lot of, their color, their race. But we're pretty homogenized here. We have a certain demographic, and I've never experienced any negative issues with diversity or inclusion within this community, within the events that I attend, because there's no place for that. If you, again, love one another, I think that solves everything.
Thank you.
This will be our last question for the evening, and we'll be starting with candidate Shea. How do you plan to engage more of the community in the board's decision-making process?
I think I can bring a lot to this board in building bridges to our community. Those are bridges that I have built myself to different organizations in our area, from the city to the law enforcement to the school district. These are all things that I'm super tightly connected to, and I think I can bring my diverse connections that I have in the area as well as businesses to the board and execute things and more in a timely manner, because there's things that get stuck in this board and they're there for years. Issues that we've been dealing with in the past. And I feel like I could just be the person that is the connector and the bridge builder and executing things, getting things done in a timely manner.
Thank you. Candidate Maynard, how do you plan to engage more of the community in the board's decision-making process?
I've always been very transparent. I have my network of friends. I always like to make new friends. So when reelected to this, I probably will have an official coffee hour, some kind of thing that ask me any question. You can go back and look at YouTube over 9.5 years and see my conduct. I've always been transparent. So I want to maintain that, but I'm also always ready to make new friends. I'm always willing to talk to people. The one thing that I find is most people don't really listen. They're always thinking about what they're going to say to the person they're talking. So I actually take on what I call active listening, where I really want to understand. So to me, communication is not trying to be understood, but trying to understand. And so that's what I'm putting out there is I will make some kind of official before meeting group. If anyone wants to go and have coffee on a specific day, you'll be able to find me and you can ask me anything and you'll get a truthful answer.
Thank you. Candidate Churchill, how do you plan to engage more of the community in the board's decision-making process?
I would like to promise you that you will always see me behaving with a professional demeanor. I will maintain a calm. I will not be a cheerleader with pom-poms. I will listen carefully to what you tell me, and I will gather facts. I will do research, and I will not engage in political activities that will embarrass you. I have worked with state, county, and federal officials, putting together every type of conceivable plan you can imagine, having to do with running a city. Now, your little board here focuses on parks and recreation and trash and street sweeping, but that's only one part of who the community is. There are other stakeholders. You need to have somebody that can liaison with the county, with the sheriff's office to get your 911 calls from 45 minutes down to like 5. You need more patrol cars in the community because people are complaining that their catalytic converters are being stolen and things are taken from their cars in front of their house. You have parents that have told me they make call after call after call to the sheriff's department and the highway patrol to report safety problems with traffic around their schools. I've studied that. I have a chart here. You're not going to want to see it, but I got a chart. I have an idea. And if given the opportunity, I would like to act as the person on the board who puts together the proper parties and sits them down and say, okay, let's put our head together and let's resolve these issues. That's what I think I can bring to your board.
Thank you.
We've now come to the concluding portion of the evening. On behalf of the RHA, I'd like to thank the three of you and all the candidates who took the time to come to this community and to let us get to know you a little bit better, in some cases reacquaint. We're going to start with candidate Maynard. You have 2 minutes to say your concluding remarks.
Okay. Thanks for having me tonight, and thanks for everyone in attendance here. As mentioned, I have more experience and more leadership specific to Rossmoor and specific to the RCSD than any candidate that's currently running. I would like to serve again. I've had tremendous success for this community. I would like to continue that. As mentioned, I believe that the board has suffered a little bit without me being on it, and I think there's some leadership that I think I can help out with. The fact that there was a budget approved 3-2 tells me that we need leadership. We need people who can build consensus. We need people like myself who has a CEO background, who knows how to inspire, who knows how to build organizations, knows how to equip. I pretty much have gone through many tasks and obstacles being on this board before. I get to hit the desk running fast because I actually understand what we are and what we're not. I understand how to work well with others. I worked with multiple supervisors in helping our woes, and I want to get right back on there because frankly, our speeds are too fast. People might not realize this, but there's a section in Rossmoor that's actually a faster speed limit than Los Alamitos Boulevard, and that needs to be fixed. We need to address these new e-bikes with kids riding along crazy. I'm scared to death that we're going to hear in the news that a kid died. So I want to come in here. I want to help lead. I want to help be a statesman. I want to build consensus, and I want to take a fractured board, and I want to build that board into a more successful board and get things done for you, for the people who live here, and I want to protect and preserve the Rossmoor life. That's what I'm about. I hope you guys all vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Churchill, 2 minutes.
First of all, I want to just tell you a little bit of a story. I visited the San Juan Islands and a special little island called Lopez Island. And I'm visiting the island and I'm driving the car around and people are waving at me. I don't know who they are, but they have funny little ways they wave. Some of them will go 1 finger from the steering wheel, some will go 2, some will go that, like that. And I started asking in the community, what are they doing? And they said, don't you know, Lopez Island is the friendly island. We wave to everybody. It doesn't matter that we don't know them. We should know them. And that's why we wave to them. That's how I feel about Rossmoor. You have an oasis here. You have a lovely community that people really want to be a part of. And when I moved into it, and we're in this little COVID isolation, I'm doing research on it. First thing I did was join the Homeowners Association. I think that's really important, and I would like to see everybody that owns a house in Rossmoor to be part of that association. I think it benefits everybody. They bring people together, but they do it in coordination with your homeowner, with your service district, because that's where the place is where the association occurs. So they need to be a team. I think it's really important for the board to work cooperatively, and I don't like seeing hostility among board members. We do not need any political activities by any board member. This is a nonpartisan office, and it's appropriate to do that as a member. I want to promote community participation and transparency in all governmental activities. I want to expand the Homeowners Association, and I will work to provide parks and recreational services to a broad range of residents. That includes families, pets, walkers, joggers, tennis, and pickleball players. And yes, pickleball looks kind of fun, but I'm very clumsy, so you probably won't see me on the court. So I hope you'll take a chance to investigate my credentials, and you'll think about voting for me, because I would love to be part of your board. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Shea.
Thank you. I would like to ask for you to take a look at the diversity up on this board right now, and the board, how it's been in the past. And that's all I'll say about that. I'd like to thank the RHA for hosting and showing such a continual support for these elections. This is a lot of work and expense, and you are greatly appreciated. Thank you to all the volunteers who assisted here as well. Thank you to our candidates who are participating here with us tonight, Carol and Michael, and even Director Rips, who could not be with us this evening. And thank you to the Rossmoor residents, mostly. Thank you for coming here and watching, here in person and out there on the airwaves. I would like for you just to review and think about all of us very carefully and what we offer this community as individuals. Who has done what exactly? What efforts and actions have we taken? When was that done? Who benefited? Was that shared here tonight? When was that done? Was that done in the past couple of years? I was asking the community questions as we were sent out. How many RCSD meetings did you attend in the past 12 months? I'd like to say I was the only one that attended 9 times. No one else attended up here once. The classic formula for getting misinformation is having people telling you things third party. I'm telling you firsthand. I am the person, is the boots on the ground community involvement. I hope you vote for me.
Thank you all, and I'll turn it back over to our host, Marian Last.